Later, it is 9:30.
I don't take a break. Now everybody has a break.
Is that what they're all taking a break now?
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So the Mishnah, I don't know, everybody's a little late tonight, but fine. The Mishnah writes on the Mishnah on Ayin Aleph on the base. So basically, this sugya that we're going to be discussing tonight, it's an interesting sugya, which is that if somebody makes a mistake and he ends up doing a dvar mitzvah, is he chayav for the mistake? Right. So the Mishnah, and then we have Machlokes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shua. Right. We have Machlokes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shua of the din of exactly if, meaning the first case in the Mishnah was if somebody shechted the korban Pesach shaloi lishmoi on Shabbos. So you chayav chatas, meaning there's a heter to shecht the korban Pesach on Shabbos. Right? But if you didn't shecht it properly, if you didn't shecht the proper Pesach, then it's a problem. So then you're gonna be chayav for Shabbos. That's one. But what about if you take other korbanos and you shechted l'shem Pesach? Is that roy or is that not roy? Right? I'm not sorry. No, it's going to be a machlokes if it's animals that are roy or not roy. We're going to see that in the Gemara tonight also. But that's a machlokes of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shua, whether meaning you had a shlomim, you had a korban shlomim, and then you shechted it l'shem Pesach on Shabbos. So really, a korban shlomim is not allowed to be shechted on Shabbos. You shecht it after Shabbos. Only korban Pesach is allowed to because you're mechuyev. You have to shecht the korban Pesach on Shabbos. So you shechted a korban that really wasn't supposed to be shechted on Shabbos, but it was done l'shem something that was done on Shabbos. So you really did a mitzvah. You did a mitzvah. So Rabbi Eliezer says you still chayav achatas, and Rabbi Shua says that you potter. And then et cetera, et cetera. So that, but that's basically the side of the Gemara's question is that when you do by mistake, you do an avera, but you're doing the avodah because you're busy with a mitzvah. So then, is that called? Should you be chayav for that or not? So let's see. So Zok the Gemara on the top. Ayin Beis Amud Aleph. So what exactly? What's the case talking about? What are we talking about here? Where the person messed up the korban Pesach. Ilay b'toya. If we're talking about where the guy made a mistake. Right, and he thought that the korban Pesach was something else, right? Meaning he thought it was a shlomim. He didn't have in mind to change anything. He thought the korban that he's shechting is a shlomim, and really it was a korban Pesach. So if we're talking where he stam made a mistake, shamas akira b'tois havi akira. We hear from this that if you're oiker a korban, then that's considered an akira, and therefore it's possible for a korban Pesach. And therefore you're chayav on Shabbos, right? So that would be the first. That would be the ratio. Ella, thank you. Ella ba'ikar, right? So it must be talking about where he didn't forget about it. Must be talking about where he purposely. He must have forgotten. I don't know if he forgot that it was Shabbos or he forgot that he wasn't supposed to shech this on Shabbos. Meaning he knew very good and well that this animal was a korban Pesach. Right, it was a sheep, it was a lamb, whatever it was, right? But he shechted it instead of a Pesach. He shechted it as a shlomim, but he didn't know that if he decides to do that, he's not allowed to do it on Shabbos. Meaning, you have a bunch of different animals, right? The guy has a bunch of different animals to shecht, so he knows that one the korban Pesach he's allowed to shecht on Shabbos, and the korban shlomim he knows he's not allowed to shecht it on Shabbos, but he decides that he's going to, but he thinks maybe the korban shlomim, when it's being brought together with the korban Pesach, he's allowed to bring it on Shabbos. So what happens is he shechts the korban Pesach. He says, let me change my mind. Let me bring it as a shlomim, right? And then he shechted it on Shabbos. So he just didn't know, but he did. He was oiker on purpose. Again, the first way the Gemara is saying is just Stam made a mistake. He mixed up his animals, which you could hear that happening. You go to Beis HaMikdash with a bunch of different animals, and you mix them up. That would be the first shot. The second shot is no, you purposely were oiker it. Right, so then aim a seifa. So then let's say the seifa, the shar kolas vachim sheshachtan l'shuma Pesach, but other korbanos that you shechted for Pesach, emein and ruyin chayiv. If they're not roy, meaning if let's say it was a cow and he shechted the cow on Shabbos for the korban Pesach. So that's clearly that cannot be a korban Pesach. So meinan ruyan, they're chayiv im ruya hein. But if they are roy, that's a machlokes. Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatas. Rabbi Eliezer says you chayev chatas. You still chayev chatas, even though it theoretically could have been brought as a korban Pesach. Rabbi Yeshua pater. Rabbi Yeshua says it's pater. And if it's somewhere where he did it on purpose, mali ruyan, mali sheinin ruyan. What's the difference if it was roy or not roy? The guy purposely said his korban Pesach he's not shechting. He's shechting it as a shlamim, which he's not allowed to do on Shabbos. So if he was iker it purposely, who cares if he did it to a cow or to a lamb or to a sheep, right? So it must not be that he's iker it. Elab shita betaya must be that's talking about where he did it as a mistake. So the Gemara says reisha ba'iker v'sefer b'mayid. The reisha is talking betaya. I'm sorry. The reisha is talking about when a korban Pesach was shechted as a shlamim. It's talking about where he was iker it purposely, and then the seifa has to be done where he did it by mistake. He didn't realize which korban he is. So Rabbanan, yes, in reisha ba'ikar v'sefer b'taya, they don't have to be aligned. The reisha and the seifa do not have to be aligned. The reisha could be talking about where it was ikar, where he purposely changed the korban, and the seifa is talking about where he made a mistake. Fine. So the Gemara says an interesting line here. Ashkei Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Rabbi Avo, ta'avakai b'chlusin de'inshi. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Yosef found Rabbi Avo, and he was standing amongst a lot of people. Amarle masnisan mai. What's going on in our Mishnah? Amarle reisha ba'ikar v'sefer b'taya. The reisha is talking about where he purposely changed the status of the animal, of the korban, and seifa is where he made a mistake. Tanamine arban zimnin. So he learned it from him 40 times. V'dami le'kaman demancha b'kisei, and then he had it in his pocket. Right, which is, I guess that's what it's called. I guess that's where the phrase comes from. If he has the whole shas in his pocket, or he has a whole sugi in his pocket, maybe that comes from that comes from this Gemara. But what happened? Does that mean that he chazered it 40 times, or he actually had Rav Avin? Was it Rav Avo? No, yeah, that Rav Avo taught it to him 40 times, or he just reviewed what Rav Avo told him 40 times. Right. I'm not sure which way, what exactly, because
Yitzchak learned this from Avon 40 times.
He learned it. What does that mean? He learned it from him, right? Doesn't mean that he repeated himself 40 times. Is that what that means? Or does it mean that he just chazed it 40 times? You know, like sometimes when kids are trying to do Baal Peh, or whatever, they're trying to remember, so they'll go over the translations, 10 times, 20 times to try and remember it. Right, so is that what he did? I originally thought that that's what he did, but the lashon maybe is mashma that Rabbi Avo taught it to him for 40 times. Right, we had in the Gemara. Where was the Gemara when he taught him 400? Who was that? Erevin? Right, who was it? What was it? His name? Rav Prayed. Dovi, you muted. I can't hear you. Rav, still can't hear you. I don't know. Can't hear you.
I think it's Rav Preda, no?
Was it Rav Preda? Rav Preda? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So this is like half of that. Well, a tenth of it, right? Tenth. No, that was 300. That was 300. Was it 100? I don't even remember. 400. 400. 4. Okay. So then he did 10%. 10%. Okay. But then it was in his pocket. Fine. Okay. So anyways, that's what the Mishnah is saying. That's what the Gemara is saying right now. That the Reish is talking about where the guy purposely changed the korban from a Pesach to a Shlamim, and the Seifa is talking about where he did it by mistake. He just confused it. Fine. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. Isn't there a Gemara
Welcome back,
later
Mike.
on that? How you doing? Thank you. Isn't there a Gemara later on Pesachim that says that even though it could be in your pocket, it could still fall out, as opposed to biyadai?
Is that a Gemara in Pesachim?
I'm asking. You remember that Gemara?
I don't remember.
Don't be so confident that's in your pocket, because it can still fall out, as opposed to being in your hand.
Right.
So Yitzchak's right. El Mitzias, the person checks his pocket.
No, that's something else. That's something else. Yeah, that's something else. It sounds familiar. I don't know. Is that a Gemara?
I'm asking.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But you're right. It's a good point. This is what Mike is saying, that it's just because it's in your pocket doesn't mean it can't fall out. Meaning, but I think the initial learning was 40 times. Right? That was his initial learning. I don't think this is referring to his chazara. Right? Don't they say Maisa like that, where somebody came and he kept forgetting his Gemaras. He went to one of Rosh Hashivas and he said, "Well, how many times did you learn the Gemara? Like 2, 3, 2, 3. What? That's not called learning. You never learned it, right? Okay, I don't know what that says for us now, but right, but whatever it is.
There's the Gemara that says that the person taught it 400 times. He was like Riches Yom, right? Taught it to one Talmud. He had to go somewhere and he stayed with the Talmud. I think it was 400 times. No, I forgot.
Yeah, right. All the time, right? That's what we said.
So he got both schar, right? They gave him a choice, and they and he ended up getting both. Save the generation and get Olam Haba, right?
No, it's Arichas Yom, I think.
Well, it could be Yamim and Shanim and all that, right? Does it say that? I don't remember.
I don't remember this Gemara. Oh, wow.
You don't remember the Gemara? It's famous Gemara, and it's even if we didn't learn it.
No, with Rapreda.
I can learn it again if you want.
Yeah, well, we should.
How many times should we learn it?
Let's see. We should learn it 400. We should learn it 400. Yeah.
I think that's Daf Yomi. To do it 400 times, you really need a Riches Yom.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So Tanan, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Ma im Pesach shemut lishmai.
None of these guys don't know sport. The Chaver doesn't know sports, and I don't know. We could say things that would reinforce these memory chazal, but they wouldn't know what we're talking about. So
Practicing.
I hear. Right, that's true.
You talking about practicing?
It's Fiakov. Are you the same age as Aaron?
No, but it's, yeah, I guess in sports years, yes. In sports years, yes. Even though yeah. Yeah, so Tanan, very good. Tanan,
I know way less psak.
And I know way less sport, whatever. It's yeah. So anyways, Tanan, Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Ma'im Pesach shemuter l'shmai. Right. So Pesach? What was Rabbi Eliezer taina? Korban Pesach is muter l'shmai. Kishashina shmai chayev. When you change the name, when you change it to a shlomim, let's say. That's the example we're using. So if you have a Korban Pesach, it's muter to bring it on Shabbos, right? If you do it l'shmai. If you change the name, you're chayev. Zvachim, right? Zvachim shehein asurin l'shmon. Zvachim, regular korbanos that are also to bring it l'shmon on Shabbos, because shashina shmon. When you change their name, and it didn't chayiv, of course you should be chayiv, right? I mean, again, a korban Pesach, if lishma is mutter to bring, you change the name, you're not allowed to bring it on Shabbos. So korbanos, which you're not allowed to bring lishma, if you change the lishma, then of course not. Vim isa, and if that's the case, halay dami dereisha ba'oiker b'sefer b'toya. You're trying to compare apples and oranges because the reisha is talking about oiker and the sefer is talking about toya. Right? If the one is talking about where he purposely did it, and the other one is where he made a mistake, how can you bring a kal v'chomer from one to the other? Right? One's a mistake, and one is where he purposely changed it. So my answer is Rabbi Eliezer Shanile. It's true. Rabbi Eliezer doesn't differentiate. Rabbi Eliezer does not differentiate between Iker and Toya. Rabbi Yeshua the Shanile. So then the Gemara says, okay, so according to Rabbi Yeshua, who changes Lishni Le'achi, so why doesn't he just answer him that? Why doesn't he just give him that answer? That's the difference between being accurate and a mistake. Meaning when Rabbi Eliezer says his kal v'chomer, so why did Rabbi Yeshua say, no, your kal v'chomer doesn't work because one is talking about where he did it on purpose, he changed the name of the korban on purpose, and the other one's talking about where he did it by mistake. So Hachi Kamarle, this is what he said to him. Lididi loy dami reisha ba'aiker v'sefer b'toya. According to me, it's not comparable because the reisha is talking about where he uprooted it, meaning he purposely changed the korban, and Sefer is where he made a mistake. But according to you, Rabbi Eliezer, by Pesach, you're changing the name, meaning you're taking something that's a korban Pesach, which is mutter to shecht on Shabbos, and you're changing it to a shlomim, which you're not allowed to shecht on Pesach. By korbanos sheshina esheman ledavar mutter, you're changing the name to something that's mutter, meaning you're changing it from a korban that you're not allowed to bring on Shabbos, you're changing it to a korban Pesach, which you're allowed to bring on Shabbos. So how can you compare? How can your kal v'chomer be a comparison? Fine. So that's the shaklavataria with that. So it comes out it's a Machlokes whether the reish and the seif in our mishna are talking about two different cases, one oiker, one toya, or according to Rabbi Eliezer, it can be one because it makes no difference. Fine. So then we're on to the next the next sentences in the Mishnah. Amar le Rabbi Eliezer, Emure tzibur yechichu, the emurim of a tzibur. Now, emurim, by the way, is lav dafka. Emurim just means korbanos tzibur. We'll prove this. Shein mutarin l'shmon. Right, a korban tzibur, obviously, it's mutter to shechter on Shabbos if you do it l'shma. V'ashoichet l'shmon chayev. But, right, somebody who shechts it, meaning other korbanos l'shmon, is chayev. Right, that's what it's tiny. So you see that there could be such a thing as somebody shechting something l'shma and being chayav on Shabbos. That's not true. Im amar be'emurei tzibur shekain yeshlen kitzva. Emurei tzibur has a set amount, meaning there's 2 korbanos tzibur, or maybe 3 on a Shabbos, right? And that's it. So there should be no reason that anybody should have to make a mistake and shecht a korban. They say, "Oh, I thought I was doing a korban tzibur." What do you thought you're doing a korban tzibur? There's 3 korbanos tzibur, and that's it. There's nothing more than that to get confused with. Terumah Pesach, shein like kitzur. No, but korban Pesach, there's millions. I don't know, millions. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of korbanos being shechted. A person may forget. He just may forget. Oh, I thought it was supposed to be a korban shlomim, and I mixed it up, and it was a korban pesach. Back and forth. Right. So that's basically what his taina is that when there's a set amount of korbanos, you're wrong for making a mistake. You made a mistake, and you're going to be liable for it. But when there's so many korbanos, like the korban pesach being brought, so then that is more of a that's less. You have meaning you have more of an excuse why you made a mistake. So the meir, do we mean to say the kol echad the islay kitzvah mechayev Rabbi Yeshua? Do you mean to say that any time that there's a set amount of things to be done, Rabbi Yeshua is going to say that you chayev chatos if you made a mistake, even though you did a mitzvah, right? Meaning again, because the korban that you did is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do a korban, right? And he did a mitzvah, but it was just the wrong korban. So Rabbi Yeshua is saying, it seems like the Gemara is thinking now that Rabbi Yeshua is saying that this korban, since a korban tzibur has a set amount of korbanos, you have no excuse for bringing a korban tzibur on Shabbos because it was only a set amount. So now we're saying, is that true? You have babies that need a bris. There's only a set amount. Meaning, if you have to do a bris on a baby, there's one baby to do the bris on Shabbos, right? There's no more than that. Let's say somebody has, right? We had this in Shabbos. That if somebody has 2 kids to mal, I'm sorry. One is supposed to be shechted on a Sunday, and one is supposed to. Did I say shechted? Sorry. Yes. I caught
and Aaron, where are you, Aaron? That's right up your alley to correct you.
I said 3 times.
No, not you, the other Aaron.
Oh.
Are we
talking about
the kohen?
I'm right here.
The kohen, the son of the mile, should have chapped it.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Are we talking about twins here?
I'm staying away from controversy.
It could be twins. I don't think it makes a difference if it's twins
are you
or
talking
not.
about he has 2 jobs.
He's got 2 jobs. He's got to do 2 kids. He's got to do one on Sunday, one on Shabbos. Right? So again, one he has to give the bris on Sunday after Shabbos, and one he's got to give the bris on Shabbos. And he made a mistake. He shechted. Again, he gave a bris of the Sunday one on Shabbos. So now that's only on day 7, not day 8. What? So chayev, he's chayev. That's case number 1. Case number 2, echad lemula be'erev Shabbos. One is supposed to have a mila on Friday. Ve'echad lemula b'Shabbos, and one is supposed to have a bris on Shabbos. V'shokach u'mola shel erev Shabbos b'Shabbos, and he forgot, and he shechted the one from erev Shabbos on Shabbos. Now that is less of a problem.
Maybe the word isn't shechted.
Did I say shecht again?
Yes.
All right, too many. I can't hold in too many sugis at once, which I tell you. Right?
Can I ask you a question?
My limited brain.
The one that was shechted later is I'm talking about. Forget about the mile. The one that was shechted now.
Not shechted.
The one that was mild later on is not a problem. I'm talking about the baby
less of a
itself.
problem.
But what about it's less of? No, I'm talking about for the baby, not for the moil, not for the shaykhet, right? Kidding.
Yeah.
But the baby itself, the baby himself, the one who got gemalt on the 7th day, did they have to take?
Do a toughest
not gonna
bris?
bris?
Yes.
He didn't have
Have
it.
to take blood again?
Yes, they'll
Didn't
have
have
to
a
do a
bris.
toughest. Yes, they'll have to do a toughest.
But the one who was gemalt on the 9th day does not have
will
to.
not. Correct. Right. So anyway, so those are the two cases. So Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatos. Rabbi Eliezer says that chayev chatos. Right. That's Rabbi Eliezer shita. That even though you did a mitzvah.
It was in the Mishnah.
It was in the Mishnah about shchita. That's why I keep mixing.
Okay. No, we
Right?
brought up Mila yesterday.
Well, we said we're going to discuss
okay.
Mila, right? So Rebbe Eliezer chayiv chatas because he says even if you did a mitzvah, you're still chayiv chatas because it wasn't supposed to be done on Shabbos. Rabbi Yeshua pater. Rabbi Yeshua says it's pater. Now here we're talking about it's a kitzvah. There's only a limit. There's only one kid that has to be gemalit. Yet he says pater. So Ravami Hachamaskin going chekadam umal eshel erev Shabbos b'Shabbos. Talking about where he gave a bris to the erev Shabbos one on Shabbos. Right? The ika meaning he gave a bris to the one from Friday. He gave it to him first. The ika hach the Shabbos the Torah bay because he's still being Torah in the mitzvah. See, it becomes a fine point over here. Basically, once the one that was supposed to be done on Shabbos is done, then it's no longer a tircha of mitzvah because the mitzvah was already done, or he didn't do it in the proper time. Meaning, but here, what we're saying is that he gave a milah to the erev Shabbos one on Shabbos, right? So now
a mistake. He was thinking got mixed. It was a mistake. He was so obsessed with trying to get this done that he grabbed the wrong baby.
Right. So now, the one that's supposed to have the bris on Shabbos still didn't have his milah yet. So that means that he was being involved in a mitzvah this entire time, because he still was not yet mekayim the mitzvah of the one that was supposed to have the bris on Shabbos. So that's why it's potter. But hacha, right? That's what went on by bris. But hacha, but our Mishnah with the shchita, hacha, it's talking about where they already shechted the korban tzibur. So if that's the case, the mitzvah's already done. So now when he goes and shechts another korban for the korban tzibur, that's not called tarid b'dvar mitzvah, because he already did the mitzvah. Meaning, so now what we're saying according to Rabbi Yeshua is that it becomes a very fine point here. When he's being Isaac in the mitzvah, he's going to be potter. Once the mitzvah is already done, and then he makes a mistake, well, that you can't call that Isaac the mitzvah because the mitzvah was already done.
Why
right? So he's saying the case by me. What are you saying?
Why is it considered Isaac? It's a chiv. It's not Isaac in it.
No, that's true. But if he had two babies to give a bris to, one on Friday.
I'm telling you, he did the Friday one on Shabbos.
But so that means he still has to do the Shabbos one on Shabbos.
So that's nothing to do with the Friday one.
It does, because he was busy with doing the mitzvah. He got caught up with doing the mitzvah of Milah on Shabbos for something that needed to be done on Shabbos. Right?
There's baby A on Friday and baby B on Shabbos. So since he's Isaac with baby B, so if he does baby A on Shabbos, he is potter.
That's what he wants. That's what
Because he was Isaac. Because once that's what he's saying now, Rabbi Shua. Once the mitzvah was done, the mitzvah in the proper time was done. Let's say it went the other way around, and the baby that was supposed to be gemalit on Shabbos was gemalit, and then he went and did gemalit either the Sunday one on Shabbos or the Friday one on Shabbos. That's no longer Isaac the mitzvah.
Can I say something? Can I carry the knife because I'm being Isaac?
Your Belezer would say you could. Yeah, Belezer would say you could.
I will allow me a duite on Shabbos.
Belezer says you could.
You're saying that on Friday he took
you
the baby.
You love the Mili. He says you
could. On Friday on the 7th day, and the baby from Friday he miled on Shabbos on the 8th day, and he's putter because he was Michal Shabbos because he was busy with the baby that was supposed to be on
Correct.
Shabbos, even though he did it on Friday. That got him mixed up. So he's okay.
Right? It depends. All he's saying is it depends on when the mitzvah was done. Right?
It's
So the
Yaakov.
korban Siburin, yeah.
Why is the
Maybe
case
Saul
where
did it
he?
on Shabbos.
Why in the first case of Mila is that not meduma to the case of what's it called? Is that not meduma to the case where you shut an animal that you thought was the Pesach, but it wasn't, and Rabbi Lazar is piped over there? Why is that not the same thing? Here you're tarred. Same thing. There's two babies in front of you. They're both the same case. And here the Sunday one you by accident did Mila too, and you were tarred. You wanted to do the mitzvah on the one that was for Shabbos, but you were tarred and you made a mistake.
Right. So he's saying that it depends if the one.
Why is that? No, on the
is gone.
Sunday one, everyone agrees you're chayiv.
Correct.
Why are you chayiv? Why is it any different where you shecht an animal that was supposed to be for something else for a korban Pesach, and it's not kosher for korban Pesach? We still consider that putter according to Rabbi Lazar.
Well, I think we're not talking about the korban. That's what we're talking about. The
Not Mila. If you do,
Tzibur.
you can't do a meal on of 7 days. It's not considered.
I understand
a
that you
mitzvah.
can't shecht another carbon for a Pesach also, but we pater you anyways according to Rabbi Lazar. That carbon's not a good carbon. What's the difference?
Put them all together.
No, so that's why we're asking from the Emure korban Sibur now. We're not.
I understand that, but Rabbi Lazar's din is if you shecht an animal that's not for a korban Pesach, but you think it's for a korban Pesach, you're mutter because you're tired. It's still considered your putter. It's not a good carbon, but you're putter.
Right.
So why is the din of Sunday any different?
A mila on the seventh day is not a mila. It's nothing.
And shechting a carbon for a Pesach when it's not a Pesach is not a carbon either.
It's a good shechita.
Why is it a good shechita? It's not a
I
carbon.
don't know, I'm not a
you
rabbi.
didn't it's not a good carbon Pesach.
Right, so you're talking about according to Rabbi Eliezer's shita.
Yes,
but right now,
Rabbi Lazar holds in that case everyone's chayiv.
Right,
in the case of
we're
Mila,
going in Rabbi
he
Shua.
agrees you're chayiv.
Right, but
I'm sorry. According to Rabbi Shua, I'm sorry. Let's go back. I meant to Rabbi Shua. According to Rabbi Shua, you're gonna pater in the case of Pesach. Why is that not any different? But he agrees in the case of the Sunday when it comes to Mila that the person's going to be chayiv. He's only chayiv in the case of Friday. Why doesn't he consider the case of Sunday similar to the case where you find a carbon, you think it's a carbon Pesach, you shecht it, it's not good to be a carbon Pesach, but we still pater you because you thought you're being Isaac in the midst of a carbon Pesach. Rabbi Shua holds in that case you'd be pater, no?
Rabbi Shua
even though
holds,
it's not.
Rabbi Shua holds you'd be pater because you're being Isaac.
Is it a good carbon Pesach?
Was it roy or not roy? Right,
Let's say it's
that's
right.
a different Machlokes.
Does it is it considered like you shut?
No, I don't. No, it's not. As far as I know,
so then the same way you're saying that even though it's not considered that because you are Isaac to do the mitzvah, you're putter. Then so what if it's a baby of only 7 days? You were trying to perform the mitzvah Mila.
No,
you can't do a meal. You
I
can't do a
understand
meal.
you can't, and you can't check the carbon for a Pesach when it's not an actual carbon Pesach. What's the difference?
No, it's not the same thing. It's the Zman of carbon Pesach. It's a kosher animal. It's a kosher mesa.
So this is the Zman of one of the kids being a Mila.
Basically, what I think we could all agree
the
on is
the 7-day-old baby's like doing a bris on a girl. He's not.
We're not talking about the baby itself that it's good for it, but the baby itself it's not good. We agree. But you had one of the babies that you wanted to do Mila for.
Stoves, if you do a bris on the 7th day, it's like doing a shechita.
And if you do a shechita on the 7th day on the wrong carbon, it's not
now
a good
you're going to
shechita.
confuse me, Peretz.
It's worthless. A bris on the 7th day is not a bris.
Exactly. It's called shechita. It's not called a bris.
An animal, I understand that. I agree it's not a real bris. And so is shechting an animal for a carbon Pesach when it's not a carbon Pesach. That's not a good
but what Byron's saying is it's still a shechita. You can eat the animal.
Why?
It doesn't become treif.
It's a plus. What does that mean? You did something be'isser. You might be putter, but you did it be'isser. You didn't shecht the carbon Pesach. You can't eat that animal. How would you be able to eat that animal? You might be putter, but it's definitely not beheter that shechita. You did an isser on Shabbos to kill that animal.
People can eat it if it's a shogeg.
Why
can't people eat it?
You definitely, it's still be'isser. You didn't do it beheter.
I don't think you could eat the carbon. I don't think so. If it was done shaloi.
It's be'isser. You're not shechting it beheter.
Right, I hear. Okay, I'm not sure. I hear you.
But I'm talking the din of p'tur. Why aren't you putter?
Why are you not putter? because he's learning that you were not. The mitzvah was already. Well, I guess I don't know.
I'm asking.
It seems like it's only.
You can't be
Right, but it's
in
only
the cases.
the Gemara seems to be only discussing it b'negeya to emurin, not b'negeya to the korban Pesach. Because the korban Pesach, you have all day. Right? No, I think you're right. I think you're right because the korban Pesach, you have all day to shecht it. You could shecht multiple korbanos Pesach.
I'm asking why the case of Sunday. Why wouldn't Rabbi Yeshua hold your putter in that case as well?
I hear. Okay, I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe on a base we'll get a maybe on a base we'll get it a little clear. Okay, so let's see.
I can answer one thing. It's not this case. When you make early Shabbos in the summer, right? A baby that's a Shabbos bris, can you make it Friday? After you make Shabbos on Friday.
I hear. You're in a Shabbos bris, but you can't do it at night. If you're saying you want to call it at night,
it's not.
But it's
night.
day. But if
it's 2 hours before it says, it's not night.
I know, but you're saying that it's day.
I'm just saying, yeah, it is day. I'm making
But
Shabbos.
it's day. But if
when
it's
you make
day,
early Shabbos,
but if it's day, it's the 7th day. If it's day, it's the 7th day.
No, it's the 8th day. It's Shabbos.
Yeah, but the 8th day is Shabbos.
He's asking according to people that are matter tarti disastry for the 7 o'clock minyan.
I hear. I don't know the Chayr of Shabbos even according to the other one, no.
Yeah.
All right, but Maman of Shach, it's either if it's day, it's 7th day. If it's night, then it's night. You can't do the bris at night.
Why do you say it's night? It's not
because
night.
What day is it supposed? The bris supposed to be on Shabbos?
Yeah, bris is supposed to be Shabbos. For whatever reason, whatever the reason is, that it's better. You make Shabbos 6 o'clock. You got 2 hours till the Shkia, 2 hours till it says. It works out very good.
I hear. I don't know. I would think that Mamonushach, if it's Shabbos day, it's got to be the 8th day, and it's not. It's night. If you makabel Shabbos early, you're going according to Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's Laila.
Okay, I mean,
so then maybe there'll be a technical point. That would be a technical.
Your cousin doesn't have an opinion on this.
I guess not. I guess.
Is there the Shach and Ilchis nidda with the woman who forgot a bedika?
The Hefsek Tara.
Made early Shabbos.
Yeah, I mean, there's cases, Gershon, there's cases where if you forgot to say Sphira, so, and you know.
Right, Sphira, Hanukkah, Neres.
Sphira, we go the other way. The Mishnah goes that it's Shabbos.
I'm saying that, but
the Shach says that it's Friday. The Shach says that it's Friday.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see about it. If that's the case, meaning that we're saying that it depends if the mitzvah is already done, then we go weiter.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's it's declared Rav Shlomo La'ega, when Yom Kippur comes out on Shabbos, he wanted to make a different Tosfos Shabbos and a different Tosfos Yom Kippurim. So he wanted to say you could make Tosfos Shabbos, make Kiddush, and wash.
Right.
And you Yotze Shabbos Suda, and then you go into.
And then you make Yom Kippur.
He wanted to make two different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Very good. So okay. So let's see. So if this is the case that we differentiate between whether the mitzvah is already done or not, so then Meir, who's in the end of the Mishnah, he says Afa Shoichet L'Shem Emurei Tzibur Potter. Meir is the most makel. He says anybody who's Isaac in any sort of mitzvah and makes a mistake is going to be potter. What?
He says Shoichet.
Because we're talking about shechita now. Avagav the kodem v'shachtinu le'muret tzibur bereisha. Even though you went and shechted the korban tzibur bereisha, right? V'atanya, if that, but we have a brayso Reb Chia may evel erev, right? That's the town he was from. Amar meir loy nachlaku Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shua. I'll show you shnei tinoikos echad lamol erev Shabbos echad lamol b'Shabbos. Right? There's no machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shua. If you have 2 kids, one to be mal on erev Shabbos and one on Shabbos. That everybody holds that you're chayev, right? Alman nechlaku. I'll show you l'shnei tinokas achas lamol achar Shabbos ve'echad lamol b'Shabbos. V'shokach u'molas shel achar Shabbos b'Shabbos. Right? You shechted. You gave a milav to the Sunday one on Shabbos. The Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatas. Rabbi Eliezer says you chayev chatas. For Rabbi Shua Pater, and Rabbi Shua says that you're going to be potter, right? So what do we see? That Rameir holds in the first case that once you see the mitzvah was done, then you're chayiv chatas. So then, how could we say in our Mishnah that meir matters it even if you already brought the korban tzibur, that it's a stira? So then the Gemara says v'tizbara, and is that so? Ma hasam deloy avid mitzvah pater Rabbi Yeshua, but that when Rabbi Yeshua say pater over there, that's where you didn't do the mitzvah yet, right? Because it was less than 8 days old. So then you gave a milah to a baby that was less than 8 days old. You didn't do any mitzvah. But where the mitzvah was already done, then meaning if they gave a milah to the one that was supposed to have the bris on Friday and did it on Shabbos, then he would be mechayev you because you already did the mitzvah. So Amrit Rabbi Yanai. So Rabbi Yanai is going to say a different shot, different answer. Rabbi Reisha going to kidum amal shal Shabbos be'erev Shabbos. The Reish is talking about where he made a bris for the one that was supposed to have the bris on Shabbos. He did it on Erev Shabbos, right now on Talmud Beis. Shaloi nitna Shabbos litchos, because now Shabbos should not have been daicha, because the one that was supposed to be daicha Shabbos, he already gave the bris on Friday by mistake, and the one from Friday is not supposed to have his bris on Shabbos because it's not the proper zman. The Seifa nitna Shabbos
bris. You wouldn't do on Shabbos?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Would you?
Why not?
Would.
My name is Yaman. Yeah. Why is it not litchos?
No, I don't. You wouldn't do a Tavis. 1 second. The Friday baby on Shabbos?
The Shabbos baby had on Friday.
No, but he's talking about the other baby.
I know, but either way, Yimon of Shach, you have to do one on Shabbos.
So I don't know if we look at a Tavas Dam Bris like that he is Gemalit. He is Gemalit. We do a Tavas Dam Bris because he had it too early, but he is Gemalit.
I
mean, is he
Gemalit, but the mitzvah wasn't done.
Is he considered
so Tavas Dam Bris to the mitzvah.
I think so, right? Is he considered an oral?
It wouldn't be Daicha Shabbos.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying. The Seifa nidda Shabbos litchos, that's like the Seifa Shabbos was daicha, was given to him, right? Because he still had the Shabbos bris to do. Here, the whole Shabbos was given over for korban tzibur, so therefore he's going to be potter. There is this concept that a baby on Shabbos, right? Meaning he just said a pshat that the korban tzibur, it's in conceptually, right? Conceptually, the korban tzibur is daicha Shabbos. So now the Gemara is saying, what do you mean conceptually? Milah is also daicha Shabbos, right? So Amralei legabi the high gaver mias lo yisyav. No, but for this person, Shabbos was not given to him to be daicha, right? Because lemaisa he already there was nothing for him to do on Shabbos. So the Gemara is basically differentiating between Isser Gavra and Isser Chefza, right? Okay, fine. So let's see weiter. The Shakal is Vachim Sheshalton L'Shum Pesach Im Einan Ruyan Chayev Vim Ruyan Rabbi Lezer Mechayev Chatas Rabbi Shua Paiter, and all other korbanos Sheshalton for the Pesach, if they're not roy, they're chayev, and if they are roy, then Rabbi Lezer is chayev Chatas and Rabbi Shua is Paiter. Mantan the Shanili Bein Ruyan, and again, Ruyan means like he takes a lamb or a sheep and he shechts it, and it's a shlomim, and he shechts it l'shem the korban pesach. But those are korbanos; those are animals that could theoretically be a korban pesach, right? But then you could have a cow that somebody shechts the korban pesach. What kind of thing is that? Then a cow can't be a korban pesach, right? So then we have a machlokes what that means. So man tana the shanilim bein ruyin l'shein. Who's the tana that differentiates between whether this animal was right to become a korban pesach or not? That's Reb Shimon. The Tanya echad zvachim haruyin ve'echad zvachim she'enim ruyin. Whether you have zvachim korbanos that are roy and whether you have korbanos that are not roy, v'chein hashoichid l'shem emurei tzibur, and somebody who shechts any animal for the shem emurei tzibur is potter divrei meir, right? Because we said meir holds that you do any sort of mitzvah by mistake, as long as you being Isaac in a mitzvah, you are potter. Amar Reb Shimon loinach l'kur Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shua al she'enin ruyin shechayev. Rabbi Shimon says no. There's no machlokes Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shua that if you shecht a cow, the shem of korban pesach, none of them, they're both going to agree that you're chayev. Amanach l'kol aruyin, they're having a machlokes if you shecht a lamb or a sheep. which could theoretically be a korban pesach. Sure, Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatas. Rabbi Eliezer says you chayev chatas. Rabbi Yeshua poiter. Rabbi Yeshua says you poiter. So Amar Abibi, Amar Rabbi Eliezer poiter hayu Rabbi Meir afilu egel shel zivchei shlomim sheshachtu l'shem pesach. Rabbi Meir says even if you take a egel, a calf, that's a shlomim, and you shechted l'shem pesach. Yeah, meaning it's no shaychis. How can you possibly get confused with a calf that it's a korban pesach, right? That's like I don't know. That's like putting on putting on the shel roish on your shel yad, right? What shaychis does one have to do with the other? You would never confuse the two. How can you possibly say that a guy says I got confused, I brought the cow as a korban pesach, but that's what he's saying. So that's that Rameir's paters even in that case. Rameir's maida that if somebody takes a bal mum, let's say he takes an animal that's missing a leg, and he shechts it for the korban pesach. So there, Rameir's maida. How can you possibly get confused? How can we call that getting confused with a mitzvah if you know good and well that you can't shecht an animal that's missing a leg, right? So Amar Lei. So if Bali Mumin, it's the reason why he says that you'd be chayev, even though you're trying to do a mitzvah, because it was very obvious that this thing couldn't be a korban. So a calf also couldn't possibly be a korban. So Amarle, but Bali Mumin like torrid behu. No, by Bali Mumin, a person's not torrid, right? Meaning a person knows that the thing is a Bal Mum. It's out. There's no way he would ever get confused unless he's just an oisvar. So that's why he'd be chayev. But high torrid who. But by a calf, he's torrid. He's thinking that it's a korban shlomim, and he got himself confused that it's not a korban shlomim, it's a korban pesach, and he got messed up. So basically, he's saying that a bal mum you shouldn't get mixed up with. So therefore, you'd be chayev if you wrote it as a bal mum. But an egel, a calf, you would get mixed up. Okay, I can't say I understand that for exactly.
I'm trying to understand this. Are we saying that as long as you're tarred in any mitzvah, it doesn't even have to mitzvah that patters you on Shabbos? If you're tarred in this type of mitzvah, even if that mitzvah is for a different day, that should patter you on Shabbos?
That's what Rameir is very, according to Rameir.
So if I'm tarred in a mitzvah, even if that mitzvah is not Daicha Shabbos, I should be pater from something? Does that apply to any mitzvah in the Torah?
What are you saying?
If somebody's tarred in a mitzvah and he doesn't malacha on Shabbos, but
he's limiting it. Rameir is limiting it to like, that if it's a bal mum,
then it's not a mitzvah, right? Then you're not being right because it's not a mitzvah to shech the bal mum.
You're still being Isaac in a mitzvah, but that's too much already. That's meaning he's saying that you get so torrid in the mitzvah, you lose
the mitzvah
your mind.
Shechting the shlomim. He's not saying because it's a mitzvah is going to be Daicha Shabbos. He's saying it's a mitzvah and you're torrid in it, and therefore you're going to lose your mind and you should be pater.
Right.
But that's a mitzvah. It's not for Shabbos. That's a mitzvah for whenever you could bring shlomim. So if there's a mitzvah out there that you're going to be tarred in and you're going to worry about, and then all of a sudden you do it on Shabbos and you're doing a malacha while you're doing that mitzvah, you should be pater according to a meir. Why is it only karbanos? Could be anything.
And a chanami, each one we're going to see. The Gemara is going to discuss it now. Right? That's what the Gemara is going to go through different mitzvahs of whether it's considered tarud or not. Yeah. Let's see the Gemara right. There's a boimine a Rav Meir of Nachman. Chulin l'shum Pesach mai. Mai li Amar Meir. Let's say you shecht chulin for a korban Pesach. Right? Stam take an animal, you shecht it, you didn't make it hektish, and you shecht the korban Pesach. So what would be the din? Amar le paiter hayir Meir. Rameir would say you pater for shechting it on Shabbos. Afilu chulin l'shum Pesach, even if it's chulin the Pesach, because it's something that you can get yourself confused with, right? But he said he's might of a bal mum, meaning that a bal mum you should have the presence of mind not to get confused with a bal mum. So you should have the presence of mind not to get confused with chulin either. So when one answers bali mumin loy michlafi hani michlafi, a bal mum you're not going to get confused with, but hani michlafi, but chulin you could get mixed up. You have a bunch of animals, you don't remember which one was chulin, which one was hektish. Okay, it's hard for us to visualize all this because we don't live on farms, so we don't understand what we would get confused with, what we wouldn't get confused with. Fine, but time of the Rameim shum ichlufi. What?
Who's doing the shchita? The Baal, the Makrif, or the Kohen?
Yisrael could do the shchita.
What for chulin to what?
Whichever, right? We said shechita is kosher for a zor.
Yeah, but it's not. Oh, so Bichlal, it's not in the base of Mikdash. Is this a riot to those who say? I mean, it's
Why
no other way
can't
to
it be in
learn
the base of Mikdash?
It could be if it's in
Now
the
we
right
have-
spot in the base of
Now we have
Mikdash.
5 people making a mistake.
Yeah,
Every, I mean, how many people can make the same mistake?
well, it was very busy on Erev Pesach. Right? Okay, let's see. It's late, so we gotta finish up. The time of the meir, the only reason for a meir is because he's afraid. Meir's whole thing is this something you get mixed up with or not? Right? Rabibi says in the name of Rebbe Lazar that Rameir was pater, even an egel of zivchei shlamim that you shechted l'sham Pesach. Alma time of the Rebbe Mishum detarid. The reason is because he's tarid, not because you're going to get mixed up with things. Meaning it's two different things. Tarid is just that you're preoccupied. Right? Is that the right word? Yeah. Right? Tarid is like you're preoccupied, so you get confused. Not that whether does this animal have an excuse why you would have gotten mixed up? Does this animal not have? So I'm relate tarid. So he answered it back. No, it's tarid. Avagav devlay michlef. Even if it's not something you normally get mixed up with, but if you're tarid, then you're tarid. Michlef afagav devlay tarid. Right? But switching things, getting confused, is even if you're not tarid. Lafuge bali mumin. This comes to exclude an animal that's a balmum. You shouldn't get mixed up with it, and you shouldn't be tarid with it either. Meaning a balmum should never, in all situations, should not get confused with. Fine. So Yosef Reb Zeir Reb Shmuel bar Yitzchak Akila Reb Shmuel bar Yitzchak. They were sitting in his tent, right, or whatever, sitting in his house. V'Yosfi, and they were sitting with Ka'amri Amar Reb Shimon Lakish Nischalaf leShvud Shel Nosar b'Shvud Shel Tzli. Let's say somebody got mixed up and he took a shvud as a spit, right? A spit of nosar, meaning leftover meat, and he mixed it up with a shvud shel tzli, regular roasted meat that was meant to be eaten, meaning the nosar you can't eat, and the roasted meat you can eat. And he ate it, chayev. He's chayev. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan says another din. Ishtay nidda. If somebody's wife is a nidda, and Baal, and he slept with her, he's chayev. Yevimtai nidda. If the yivama is a nidda, Baal, and he's boil her, then he's potter. Yeah, ikeda amri. There are those that say kol shekain by hida mechayev. Then that's a kol shekain, right? That it would be, but that he would be chayev. The loy also mitzvah because he didn't do any sort of mitzvah. In ista amri, but he potter. But that case is potter. My timer. There, he should have asked her if she's a nidda or not. But here, who are you supposed to ask? Right? If somebody's eating the nosar, how's he supposed to know which spit of meat is nosar or is not nosar? Meaning, so now we're just basically trying to figure out, was this guy too lazy and he should have figured out, or should have asked, should have done the research, or should he not have done, or did he not have to do the research? Right, so whereby he should not have asked. So then he's not going to be chayiv, even though there was no mitzvah done. Rabbi Yochanan, the korban mitzvah, mitzvah. So why is he saying by yivama you potter if she's a nidda? Because you did the mitzvah of yibum. By a wife also he's doing a mitzvah, right, of pruruvu. It says she's already pregnant, but you have the simcha of aina. So he says, Shalai b'shasei nos, it wasn't at the time that he was mechuyev to satisfy her. A person is mechuyev to make his wife happy with dvar mitzvah. So when it says samach levesta, that was close to her vest when she was expecting her period. So therefore, he's not mechuyev to make her happy. If that's the case, then even yivimtai also. Right, you have the same dinim. So Yevimtai buzzes me now. The Yevimtai, she's embarrassed. Right, she's embarrassed. I mean, it's.
Wait, was she pregnant or not pregnant?
Who?
According to this opinion, but close to the best.
No, it's.
Yeah, well, the Gemara is going through. Yeah, I mean, how could it be? It's the same case. You could have.
It's an interesting biology there.
You're right. That's true. That's true, doctor. That's a good point. You could have vestes in the old days. They said you could have vestes for the first 3 months of pregnancy. So that would. But I didn't think of that. That's excellent, right? So then we're saying, but yivimtoi buzzes mina, ishtoi loy buzzes mina. His wife is just not embarrassing. He has a relationship with her. He could ask her if it's that time of the month or not. Rabbi Yochanan come on, and who does Rabbi Yochanan hold like? Right? Yeah. So Elam, in the meaning, what's he basing it on? Elam Rabbi Yosi, the Tanan Rabbi Yosi, Yomer Yom Tov Rishon Shachag. Shachali is b'Shabbos. If the first day of Yom Tov falls out on the first day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, right? So we know that the first day we don't take the lulav on the first day Yom Tov, right? Let's say somebody did. Is he chayiv? Right? So we're saying Yom Tov Rishon Shachag Shechalias b'Shabbos v'Shokach v'Haitzias alulav Rishus Harabim Potter. Why? Because Lamaisa he took it out b'Rishus, meaning he didn't do it b'Rishus the Chachamim, but he did it. He was doing it l'tzarich mitzvah. Right? Right? So we're saying the same thing. As long as you're being Isaac in a mitzvah, then you are potter. So then Gemara says, Dilma Shani Yosim Dizman Bohol. Maybe it was Dizman. Dizman was on him.
Why do we assume that he carried it? Maybe he did it in his house.
No, but it says V'Haitzi Asalula Rosh Hashanah.
Okay, but I'm saying, but why?
And a chanami, he certainly wouldn't be potter. He would be potter from anything. Talking about would he be chayav al tzaitzah on Shabbos? And a chanami, if he took it in his house, I mean, he's not listening to the chachamim. But I don't think there would be any. I don't know. Is it makas mahardus for that? Right? So I don't know. Anyway, so he says shani yasm desmanei bo. He's busy with the time to take the lulav and esrog. Mashenkin yibum. There's no rush. I mean, I guess there is a rush. That's the reason makdimin, but other than that, there's no specific time for yibum. For lulav and esrog, there is. Bella Rabbi Yeshua dizvachim, right? It's talking about Rabbi Yeshua and zvachim. Yeah, what do we say by korbanos Rabbi Yeshua, right? That if he shecht it instead of a korban Pesach, right? So then you're potter. So why are you potter? Because you're Isaac in a mitzvah. So you say no. That was also Erev Pesach, so maybe that also the reason why you potter is because the time. So then it's Rabbi Shua of the people with the bris. That's also Zmanei Bol because it's supposed to be on the 8th day. Rabbi Shua the terumah. Some Rabbi Shua the terumah. The Tanan haya'oicha b'terumah. A guy's eating terumah. Imagine this case, right? A guy thinks he's a kohen. He's in the middle of eating terumah. But nidda shu ben grusha ben chalutz, and then somebody tells him, hey, by the way, you're the son of a grusha, a divorcee, or a chalutza, which makes him into a chalal, and he can't eat truma. So is he chayiv now? I mean, what's he supposed to do? He was brought up as a regular kohen. So Rabelazim chayiv keren v'chaimish. He has to pay keren and chaimish, just like a Yisrael that ate truma by mistake. Rabbi Shua paiter. Rabbi Shua says it's pater. Dilma kid Rabbi bar Abaya, because it's like Rabbi bar Abaya. Dilma Rabbi bar Abaya bitruma Erev Pesach is Mano Bol. It's talking about on Erev Pesach that it was his Mano Bol. So therefore he got all confused. So therefore we can't say it's like that either. Ina mishani truma d'ikri avodah. No, truma is different because that's called an avodah. Avodah rachmana achsher. A very interesting concept. If something's an avodah, the Torah is machsher. The Tanan hayaymiru makriv. Somebody's being aymed in his makriv korbanos v'naydeshu ben grusha ben chalutza. And he's being a kohen, and he's in the middle of being Isaac. And then all of a sudden he gets a text or a WhatsApp, right? Or a Twitter or whatever. By the way, this guy's a Ben Brukha Chalutza. What?
Do you mean that literally? Like, is there no burden of proof, or you go l'chumra until you find out better?
Oh, in that specific case.
No, I'm saying in general for something like that, do you need Adam and test
yeah,
like
No, it's a given. In this case, it's a given that he actually is not. That's the whole point.
No, but
meaning you said if you get a text, so if somebody texts you, do you trust that text?
No,
if it's from Rabbi Stein, I would trust it.
He
knows the halacha. He said yesterday. Rabbi Stein said yesterday. If you know, don't ask him if he's sure.
Right. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
but
Shadod, I saw
that's
you eat a
inherently
hot
that,
dog a half hour ago.
that's inherently what I'm asking. Like, is there a process for something like that?
There is a process. I don't know what the process is.
Okay,
but there
so
is
it's
a
not
process.
just someone coming over and saying, "Hey, by the way, you know how to do the
No.
avodah."
If nidda means it was known, properly through the proper channels. But the bottom line is the guy just got finished shechting the whole day's korbanos, and all of a sudden they find out that he's a ben grusha ben chalutza. So kol korbanos kulan sheikra v'algam ezbech psulin. Tanakama says taka, everything's puzzle. Everybody's got to bring new korbanos. Rabbi Yeshua machshir. Rabbi Yeshua says it's kosher. I'm reading on my time with Rabbi Yeshua. Why? Tichsiv Baruch Hashem Chelo. I hope anybody recognizes this pasuk. Baruch Hashem Chelo U'Poel Yodav Tirtzeh. Right? That he's Hashem gives a bracha to his belongings. U'Poel Yodav Tirtzeh, and what his work. This is talking about to the Levium. This is the bracha and the end of Zayis HaBracha. Right? So that Hashem. That Hashem gives the bracha, and then it says Yisimu Rashi says Yisimu Ketara Ba'apecha, the Samachle Baruch Hashem Chalei Chalalim Shabai. Even the Chalalim, right? The Chalei is a play on words. The Chalalim, even the Chalalim, Hashem benches their work, and they're again if they can't do it on purpose, but if he finds out in middle that he's a Pasal Lakayin, still all his korbanos are good.
Why should we recognize that person?
You don't know from Zayis HaBracha? Okay, whatever it is. The terumah.
They repeat the lenient.
Yeah. The terumah heiche ikri avodah, and okay, but that's for korbanos. What about terumah? The Tanya Ma'aser Reb Tarfon Shaloi Ba Emesh Al Beis HaMedrash. Reb Tarfon didn't come the night before to the Beis HaMedrash. L'Shachris Matzu Reb Gamliel. Reb Gamliel saw him by Shachris. Why didn't you come yesterday to the Beis HaMedrash? He says, I was doing avodah. Whatever you're saying are wondrous. It's a tema. Where do we know that there's avodah b'zman hazeh? There's no avodah b'zman hazeh. There's no, unfortunately, there's no Beis HaMikdash. What do you mean? He says to him, it says, avodas matana etenes kunasem vazara karav yumas. The avodah of matnas kahuna, which is truma, right? If a azar that's carved comes closer, that's yumas. Also, achilas truma bigvulin kavod Beis HaMikdash. So we're considering eating truma in the boundaries, meaning outside of the Beis HaMikdash, is called an avodah kavodas Beis HaMikdash. So he said to him, I was being Isaac with truma, and therefore that's considered avodah. So therefore, we learn out that if a kohen is being Isaac in truma, then he finds out that he's a chalal. Then he's not chayav for that. And so therefore we learn out from that, then any time that you're being Isaac in a mitzvah, then you are going, and by mistake you do an avera, right? Like a yivama, that's a nidda, or anything like that, then and obviously it has to be that you have the ability to find out. That's why the heter doesn't work if a guy is with his wife who's a nidda, because he should have asked her. So, Mamela, that's your potter because you're Isaac in a mitzvah and you did it by mistake. Okay, sorry, went a little over time. All
it's
right.
Yaakov.
It's
Yaakov.
Yeah,
the case of Truma B'erev Pesach, all the other tiurim of Zman HaBol deals with the actual mitzvah of Zman HaBol. Here, it's not the actual mitzvah. I mean, there's a mitzvah to eat Truma, but it's not a specific mitzvah to the Zman of eating on Erev Pesach. It's just you have to get rid of the chametz. It's not Zman HaBol in the sense the mitzvah is Zman HaBol, like lulav you have to bring on the first day of Sukkot. This is just that you have to get rid of the. I guess because of beer chametz is a mitzvah. What does it mean Zman HaBol in the sense of the mitzvah? It's not. It's Zman HaBol because he has to get rid of it. The eating of truma is not the. Is that the Zman HaBol?
No, but we didn't say that truma is Zman HaBol, did we?
I'm talking about getting rid of an Erev Pesach.
Which one are you talking about? Which one? So what are you talking about?
Truma on Erev
or...
Pesach. The Gemara says.
Rabbi Barabaya says Truma is Zman HaBol. Truma Erev Pesach is Zman HaBol.
Is that talking about the beer of chametz, or that's to get rid of it? That it's a mitzvah, or is it a mitzvah out the eating? Out just eating truma.
You're right. Yeah. No, you're right. No, it's truma that's chametz.
Yeah.
It's truma
But
that's chametz.
Is Zman HaBol to get rid of it? Is that what the Gemara is saying, or it's Zman HaBol to eat the truma, or it's just Zman HaBol? Because before the Gemara is saying the mitzvah itself is Zman HaBol.
Right.
The mitzvah's time, you have to do it now. You have to do it now. Is this because of the chametz that we're saying zman haba? Or stam?
Yes.
It's a zman that,
Yes. No, because of the chametz.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure if it was saying also truma or stam. It's a zman haba.
Well, it's truma that's chametz, right? I mean, I guess it's. But you mean you're saying that it's really out chametz that nothing to do with truma? That's what you're saying,
right? And is the Gemara just saying because it's zman haba you have to get rid of stuff, or is it saying there's a mitzvah to this? Similar,
right.
Because it's not mitzvah exactly to shaking a lulav.
Right.
Maybe it's a secondary chiddush of Rabbi Bar Abaya, that someone who eats chametz.
That's what I'm asking. Is he saying something else besides the zman haba that we said before? That's what I'm asking.
It could be he's saying, Taka, that someone who eats chametz on Erev Pesach is mekayim beer chametz.
Or right, and he's medamet shaking a lulav,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Taka, what do we hold that you yaitze beer chametz if I eat all my chametz on Erev Pesach shachal lias v'Shabbos?
We discussed that. No, that there's a sheet that holds that eating chametz is.
I don't know. We spoke about flushing the crumbs down the toilet. I don't remember if we discussed eating it.
So they actually bring down on the bottom of the yard scroll a different shot. Not out to be chametz. It's out to be vani hine nasati shmishmeres trumasi, to safeguard the truma. So by eating the truma, you're safeguarding it from having to burn it, from it becoming chametz and having to burn it. Right? You're being mekayim mitzvah. It's truma. You're guarding the truma.
You mean either way? You're talking about chametz. You're talking about wheat, truma of wheat.
Right, but it's not out to be chametz that you're being mekayim a mitzvah. You're being shomer the truma. It's out that mitzvah that we're saying zman haba.
It's interesting that it's being shomer from becoming chametz.
He brings down from a Rashi. Amish brings down from a Rashi. It's not. I'm not quoting it.
Where? Where's the Rashi?
It's Gemara in Yivama.
Oh, what? Not gonna help me now.
Rashi Yivama is Lamadalam. I think it's the same sugya, Gershon.
You all right there, Gershon? I hear. All right. You know what the taich of yivama is? I think I just learned that this morning. What's a taich of yivama?
You want to know what the art scroll says?
I think the taich of yivama is a brother-in-law.
The yavam is a brother-in-law. Yivama is a sister-in-law.
I'm saying right. I'm saying a yavam is a brother-in-law.
Yeah.
I don't know why I never thought of that till this morning. I don't know. I guess tonight I'm really not on the ball. I don't know.
I don't know if it really is the taich. It comes from the term mitzvos yibum.
Right. Well, I guess.
You could say a chalutz is a brother-in-law also. The chalutza is a sister-in-law. I don't know. I don't think it's the taich. The Gemara
I don't think the
uses
etymology of the word yivama is brother-in-law.
Right.
Gershon, it's a type of brother-in-law. Depending if it's a chalutz or a yavam. Exactly. Well, the yavam's not a bum. The chalutz is a bum.
Right.
No, not today. My sister had chalitza.
Right, nowadays not, but I'm saying the ceremony,
Right.
All right, fine. I got to log off here. Say the Yashikeach.
Yashikeach.
Parrots, you sleeping there?